All right, we got some last minute people coming in. I think this is the fastest in the last 4 years that we've been seated with lunch for the Lunch and Learn. So this is pretty exciting. Kudos to the San Antonio team here. Last few people coming in. So I appreciate everyone being here. It's nice to see a lot of familiar faces from the happy hour last night at Pitch and Putt. Who was there at Pitch and Putt last night? Good amount of crowd. Good to see you guys again. Thanks for coming back. I appreciate you being here today. It's nice to see familiar faces again. We're going into our 4th year with White Coat, and it's an honor to be here. Can you guys hear okay? I see Kevin. Oh, hey, Brett. The music next door is kind of, we're not invited to that party, and it's kind of coming in. Could you ask them to turn it down? All right, thanks, Kevin. If you guys are having trouble hearing, do that ear thing. That was good sign language, Kevin. Thank you for that. So my name's Jim Sheils, and my company is Southern Impression Homes. To be very direct, I built my wealth owning rental properties, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Just for this nice thing, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, and I'm not giving financial advice, but we're going to talk about some important lessons in real estate and what we do. This is my sweet spot. This is what I've always done for the most part. I've owned smaller properties, single family, duplexes, and quads. And I've owned the wrong ones over the last 25 years. And I really hit the stride in my wealth and also achieving wealth for our clients when I went into the new construction model about a decade ago. Total game changer from old fixer-uppers, which I talk about quite extensively in my book, which I'll talk about in a minute. We are very heavily invested in Florida. And you'll notice we're not in Orlando, we're not in Tampa, we're not in Miami, and nothing against those markets, but those don't have the fundamentals we look for with the safety scores to help our investors achieve what they're wanting to achieve. We go to second-tier markets where there's still great growth and 5 fundamentals that I'm about to talk about. And that simple model of those sweet spots has been pinnacle not only to my life and my wealth, but also others. The way I was brought into White Coat years ago is Don is a friend of mine. We live in the same town. He had invested over $40 million into our projects. And Jim Dolly approached him and said, Don, we have a lot of great funds and syndications, including DLPs, which I support, but we do not have someone that can help our medical professionals own rental property directly. Do you have anyone that can do it? Because there's a lot of garbage out there. And he said, I do. And that's how Jim and I met through Don. And we've been here ever since. I also, a lot of you, if you come to the DLP events, I do a family talk there almost every year for my best-selling family book. A lot of people besides Don have succeeded. Many stories out there. We have over 1,000 investors. Tom's one of my favorite stories because, like me, he was going through a kidney donation with his wife. I went through that with my father. We shared a big emotional support in that. He retired right before his wife's surgery, and this is with the passive income that he created through our new construction rentals that he bought. And he's also an avid flyman. He's a former Air Force, and the last 2 rentals he bought pay for his plane that he still flies, I think, 4 times a week. Amina is not looking to retire. She is an infectious disease doctor, young family. She loves what she does. She's great at what she does, like a lot of you. But she wants to have something put aside so she's not just depending on her practice forever. And she's off to a great start, almost at $1 million in equity and over $8,000 a month in cash flow in just a few short years. And then David and Gina, they are looking to retire. And although real estate has not been the main part of their retirement, it's an important little segment of their retirement that gives them comfortability to really enjoy their family. And they have a large family that they get together with and adventure with all the time. These are the individual stories that have really helped me to stay in this business and to do what I do. And again, it's a very simple formula. I created my wealth by owning rental property, and we do the same thing for our clients. Now, a lot of it is written in this book. How many of you have gotten a copy of the book? Okay, of course I'm the barber telling you need a haircut, but it's a great book. And the reason it's a great book, it wasn't just me and my wife's journey into buying the wrong type of properties to finally find the right type of properties and help our clients, but this involves my business partner, our team that's here, many of our clients, the fundamentals, and also for me, it's never been about the real estate. It has never once ever been about the real estate for me. When I went into this 25 years ago, I had the desire to get my real estate in place so I could get to the important things. And for me, that was buying back my time to keep my hobbies, do the things I wanted to do, but have a legendary family life. Now, if you wonder what a legendary family life means to me, that simply means to be with the people that I love, doing the things that I like to do, and having the financial resources to do it, because I couldn't do that with my family as a kid. And I wanted to have it different for my family. And we've been able to do that. So please pick up a copy of the book. It's a great starting point to understand our business, the 25-year journey, and the real fundamentals and principles, because we can't go over everything today in this short time. I do want to tell you guys this as well. I'm going to be able to take questions out here in the hall. Brett's giving me the hall as much as we want. We had a great time on the golf course last night answering questions. So if you have questions, we're going to answer them outside at the end of this short talk. Also, I know the pressure sometimes if you're really wanting to learn and you're thinking you got to scribble down every note, you will get a copy of these slides, either through Whitecoat or take down this email, jim@18summers.com, jim@18summers.com. I'll get you a copy of the slides. So don't feel like you got to write down every detail. Just sit here and listen, because this stuff is really easy to absorb if you're not too focused on taking too many notes. So right now we have almost $1 billion under asset management. About a little over 1,000 active investors working with us. We've built over 9,000 properties. We are housing over 10,000 residents, all workforce housing. 120 people on the team, and that grows weekly. The minimum investment to buy one of our rental properties is about $80,000. I like to be very clear about that. That's not for everybody, but that's a great starting point. We know if you have $80,000, we can start to build your rental portfolio like we have for so many others with $80,000 to start. We own over 5,000 lots in Florida. We're very heavily invested in Florida, and we believe that it has long-term growth fundamentals, the same that I know my friend at DLP was saying, and we plan to build out those 5,000 lots over the next 4 to 5 years. This is the Rosetta Stone of what I was taught over 20 years ago to follow for real estate. I do not invest in a market, or I definitely do not build property in a market unless it has these fundamentals. These are the fundamentals you guys should learn to look for wherever you're going to invest in real estate. These questions: is there economic growth, jobs? Is there population growth occurring in that area, or is the population depleting? This third one, this is the star word of the year. If you guys were on my last webinar last month with our company, affordability is the theme of 2025, and I believe the next 4 to 5 years, especially in Florida. So we look for affordable markets where the properties are still affordable and the median family income is high. Along with that, you can't just have affordable properties, they have to be desirable. One of the most undesirable things that I know of, which I invested in and almost lost myself in many years ago, was investing in the wrong properties. If I cannot walk down the street at 9 o'clock on a Friday night, I am not buying or building a property there. Period, end of story. That was a rule I had to make for myself and cost me a lot of money. And along with that type of desirability, what else is there? What's the draw to the area? And as an investor, which you guys would now become, there's a simple question you need to ask wherever you're investing in the U.S. Are the landlord laws friendly or unfriendly? And that should decide whether you're going to put your money there or not. At least that's what I decided years ago, and I left California about 20 years ago. I'll leave it at that. Desirability. Besides desirability, healthy supply and demand. As a builder who's building new construction rentals for ourselves and our investors, we obviously want to go where there's an undersupply of housing, not an oversupply of housing. There's certain areas in the Midwest, they're actually knocking down old houses because the population's shrinking. We want to go to areas like we are now centered in different areas of Florida, where there is a shortage of needed rental property. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that shortage of workforce housing that we're filling. What do we do? Very simple. Like I said, I made my wealth in owning rental property. We help people like you do the same. We work with wealthy and ultra-wealthy people to build successful rental portfolios for long-term wealth. It's one of the most proven ways and one of the ways that I truly believe in. Now, underneath that, though, what type of property? Again, workforce housing, new construction. I used to be the king of rehabs, they said. I can't stand rehabs anymore. I only go with new construction because it's been better for my wallet and for my sanity along with my clients. And we're in affordable growth markets. Those 5 factors that I just showed you, that has to be occurring for us to build our sweet spot of single family, duplexes, and quads. And this is one of the most interesting things about our company, and what Jim really brought us in for is low interest financing. How many of you have heard that mortgage financing is very expensive nowadays, right? Interest rates have gone way up. We all know that. You go into Bank of America, they're going to quote you over 7% for an investment property. Right now, with our in-house financing, we're locking our investors in around 4%. That's long-term debt. And I'll talk about the ways that we do that out in the hallway, but one of the most important things we bring, because when we get you in at the right interest rates, right now we don't really have a pricing problem in these affordable markets. We have an interest rate problem. We solved that interest rate problem that's able to get you instant cash flow on new construction properties that most people could not. Now, there are 3 steps to our business, really, of new construction turnkey rentals. You have to build it right, you have to finance it right, you have to manage it right. Now, in my book and conversations we've had out at the booth, we go through each step of how we do that. One thing with building it right, you guys are not involved in the construction at all. Pre-construction can be a very risky position to put yourself in as a medical professional coming from afar. You're having to get a construction loan. You're having to oversee a contractor and a builder that may or may not perform. That puts you in a lot of risk. When you buy from us, not only are we using a certain superiority of our build, which we go over in detail of how we do our builds, but also you're buying a finished product. You're buying a finished product. You're not waiting 8, 10 months, 12 months for it to be built. You're not involved in that pre-construction risk phase. We take all that risk on. You come in with one permanent loan. You can use whatever lender you want. However, 95% of people use us because of the rates that we're getting right now with our in-house financing. And remember, when you're financing an investment property or any property that you own, it's not just the mortgage. There's something else that you're financing every month. Does anyone know what that is? Insurance. All right, how many of you have heard insurance is impossible or ridiculously expensive in Florida? Good. I want you guys to ear note that because we're going to go back to that. And then manage right. I remember my first real estate mentor told me I could buy a house that at 50% off, but if I didn't have management in place, I could still lose money. So one of the most important things we did, I think, is start with management. We were in the management game before we were in the building game. And every market that we go into, we set up management first so it's in place and we give incentives to help you get the best results. Because remember, this is about buying back your time. As a medical professional or a successful business owner, you want to work on your practice or your career. You don't want a second or third job and be paying handyman, a tenant screening. That's not on you. You want someone to manage it right. So that's what we bring in, all 3 parts of the puzzle. There's 5 ways to make money in real estate. These are the 5 ways that have created my wealth. Appreciation, leverage, debt paydown, tax benefits, and cash flow. The one that we most focus on, or at least that I was most taught to focus on when I started this journey 26 years ago, was number 5, cash flow. Now, cash flow is very important. I believe in it. I like it. I appreciate it coming in every month. But I can look back and assess my rental portfolio and the action steps I've taken over the last 25 years, and most of my wealth, though, has come from number 1. It has come from number 1. It is time in the market, not timing the market, just being patient and being in the market. A lot of people say don't depend on appreciation. I don't depend on it, but I do my best to get in its way using those 5 fundamentals that I showed you. So these are the 5 ways you can make it when you're actually owning the real estate directly. And that's why we were brought in with Jim. Now, is it worth owning your own real estate? You guys are busy. You have practices to run, unbelievable schedules, unbelievable hours. I don't want involvement. I don't want to fix leaky toilets. I don't want to be involved. I totally understand that. Now, a good system should take you out of most of those situations, but let's talk about the money. Let's look at the numbers. So, $250,000, if you had invested it 5 years ago in the S&P 500, which is great, I encourage you to invest in that, made a little over 10%. That's a solid return, absolutely. Real estate fund or syndication, like my friends at DLP. Again, I invest in both of these things. I highly encourage it. You might have gotten a 13.5% return on your money. That's a great return, especially with no involvement. However, with involvement in owning property and the way that I've, again, created most of my wealth is owning my own real estate, if you had invested $250,000 into our rentals in Jacksonville, Florida 5 years ago, that's just our hub market that we pulled these numbers for, you would have earned over 69% on your money. That is not a misprint. That is the power of owning real estate. And I want to remind you guys something. Again, I encourage you to invest in all of these. But in order for a REIT or a fund or syndication or a hedge fund to be able to pay us 13.5%, they have to be able to make more of that. How are they making more of that? Well, they're owning the properties, right? So I see this as a multi-legged stool. One of the most important legs in the stool for me has been owning these properties. And with the right systems, you don't have to listen to the war stories or be dragged in. I mean, how many of you have heard war stories about being a landlord and owning property? Every single one of you, of course. But the numbers don't lie. That's why I think the right involvement with the right systems is worth your time. Savvy investors use proven systems, strategies, and guidance to make money in real estate by producing repeatable results. I need to tell you that owning single-family homes, duplexes, and quads is not exciting. You're probably not going to want to fly to Florida and bring all your friends and brag and go buy them like you would a big medical building or commercial building or something like that. But I was taught years ago that repeatable results, making money, can be boring. So you're not even thinking about it. It's coming in, it's growing. And again, that's what I've seen with our type of rental property. The 1031 exchange, I can't get into this too much on stage, but I've had a lot of people come to me and say, you know, I've got this property. It's got a ton of equity. It's in an area, a couple of Californians came up to me. Not great landlord laws. I'm not feeling good about it. It's still negative cash flow, but I have a ton of equity. The 1031 exchange is one of the ways that I multiplied my wealth leaving California and exchanging into properties in Florida many years ago. And so for some of you, this is a conversation you want to have with one of our property counselors. Again, our property counselors are the gateway into education and wealth in our company. They've done a lot of deals themselves. They've created many millionaires. They've set up many of portfolios. And having a conversation about 1031 exchange is something you definitely want to do if you don't understand what they are and already own some property that's not doing what you think it could do. So I thought it was important today, because we're in 12 different markets in Florida, to break down the markets one at a time. And last week, 2 weeks ago, I did our annual webinar about my top market pick. Now, I believe in all of our markets because it has those 5 fundamentals: population growth, economic growth, affordability, desirability, and healthy supply and demand. But there are markets that I feel have even better opportunities to shine. This year for 2025, we picked Central Florida. Ocala, Inverness, and Citrus Springs. Now, this is nestled in a great spot in Florida, and I'll go over a couple of reasons why. If you look just to the north of it, there's Gainesville, big medical community, as a lot of you know there. Also, University of Florida, which is its own economy. And then just south of there, the Villages, the second largest retirement community and growing in the nation. That doesn't even include their own economy there, which I'll go over in a minute. Very strategically located for a couple of things. And again, I know a lot of people have concerns about hurricanes, and I'll go over that. Lowest hurricane risk zone in the state. So, horse capital of the world, retirees, lifestyle, sense of community, the Silver Springs. How many of you have ever been to the Springs in Florida? Incredible experience, more blue water than the Caribbean. I went there on New Year's Day with my family, and it was absolutely packed out, an incredible spot to go and travel. Again, one of those things of desirability that brings people to want to live in an area. But you say horses. Horses, I don't get horses. How many of you are into horses? Okay, a couple of people. So my business partner, him and his wife met on a horse farm in high school and are happily married today. The joke is he collects horses, I collect kids, because I have 5 children from 3 to 21. So he collects horses. I didn't know much about horses, so I thought, horses, what's the horses? Well, the World Equestrian Center was built about 5 years ago in Ocala. Do you guys know how much the horse economy how much the horse industry brought into the U.S. economy in 2023? Does anyone have a guess? No, $177 billion. $177 billion. I had no idea. I would have guessed like $1 million. I didn't know. So this is right in Ocala, and these are one of the things that stems into a stronger local economy. So, World Equestrian Center. Now, what do we talk about? When you are going to do long-term buy and hold, and again, my luck has gotten better the longer I've bought real estate and held it. It's just that simple. But you want to make sure that the market is going to have strong fundamentals. Well, let's look at this. Woods and Poole said that for Ocala's metro area, the population will grow by almost 60% over the next 30 years. That's quite impressive. Now, to match that, important, right? If the population is going to grow by 60%, I really like this number. The employment is expected to grow by almost 70%. We'd be in trouble if the employment was going to grow 20% and the population's growing 60%, right? So these are important fundamentals we look for by 2060, about 30 years out. Also, this was an important thing. New jobs from multinational manufacturers are attracting people to the area. How many of you have gotten more used to the word tariff over the last few weeks? Yeah, right? I never heard it so much, right? If you had said, Holy cow, the word tariff. So there's a lot of things going on with tariffs, right? They're trying to bring manufacturing back to the U.S., and Ocala already has a jump on this where certain land setups are being designated for manufacturing. So again, with all of this not being able to go out of country now with these tariffs, they're trying to bring it back there, and Ocala is poised for a very, very good part of that. Affordable workforce housing. Again, Ocala has affordable workforce housing, which is very, very important to its popularity. Not only that, if any of you have been to our Ocala market, I would have no problem walking down the street at 9 o'clock on a Friday night, and I have some of the videos you might have seen to prove that. This is also #1 city for people that are moving to. That was according to Moving Trends report, first quarter of last year. So at this time last year, it was the #1 moving destination. This is important, too, to a lot of people because, again, I was in California, so I got used to those earthquakes. But then I came to Florida, and I said, I was a kid from the Northeast. I didn't know anything about hurricanes. I've gotten a lot more used to them, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But if you're really concerned about hurricanes, the lowest hurricane risk zone in the state is in Central Florida. And I'm going to talk about some of the myths about hurricanes and insurance in a minute. This is really important. I know this is something that Don at DLP talks about, too. Right now in Florida, for every 25 affordable rental homes, like we're building, the workforce housing, there are 100 people in need. Think about that for a minute. Only 25 houses available for the 100 people that need it. That shows there is still a very clear existing housing shortage in the workforce housing, and that's what we're trying to step in and make whole on. So let's look at this, 69th best place overall to live in the U.S. by USA and World Report, top 100 in the U.S., that's not bad. Top place for to live in Florida by U.S. World Report, so in the top 10 in Florida. 36 for best performing in the U.S. from the Milken Institute. Again, this is for Central Florida. Houses in Ocala. We all hear, oh, I've heard properties in Florida aren't selling, really? Well, I look at the MLS data, the multiple listing service for realtors. Houses in Ocala typically sell after 52 days on the market, which is faster than the state average, which I think is about 97. Month supply. This is one, again, there's numbers that you guys go over in your practices. I mean, I have so much respect for the medical community after going through the kidney donation that I will never understand. And you might not look at this, but this is an important thing for real estate investors to know how much month supply is on the market. 5.2 months of housing supply, that's very normal. Now, in the pandemic, we went down to 3 weeks on the market. That was it, 3 weeks of housing supply on the market. That's never been seen before. It was absolutely insane. That wasn't realistic. You know, it was bad as well. In 2008, the housing supply was up to 17 months. 17 months. That might be a precursor to why we had a bit of a dip in 08, if you guys remember. But right now, we're at a very healthy time of 5.2 months of housing supply. 3,688 homes sold last year, up from 2,697 the year before. Those are important numbers to remember. And again, let's look at the average price in the home, just over $300,000, still very affordable. The median household income, too, houses at $300,000, I thought this was going to be a lot less. We're almost $80,000 in family income in this area. Think about that. The average price of a home compared to the average family income is extremely healthy in this area. That's what we look for. Can people afford to rent or to buy? Now, we're not going to have too much time to go into the houses today, but when you sit with one of our property counselors and go through individual properties, this is what you're going to see. Some starting points of what's the purchase price, the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance. Property management, we waive the fee for the first 2 years. And then post 5-year projected profit, $138,000. How did you come up with that? Well, very simply on very basic numbers that your property counselor will go through with you. And again, cash flow starting at about $308 a month. This is for one of our single family homes. Again, under $280,000 still, workforce housing in a very desirable area of Ocala. Let's look at this, too, duplex. We'll go over the same numbers as the duplex, but I wanted to kind of highlight something. Remember we talked about insurance was so high and impossible to get in Florida? $92. $92 a month for full coverage for this duplex. Now, where did I get this number from? From the insurance company that does most of our business. Again, he's been insuring my property for years. We have no financial affiliation with him, but he gets the job done. And this is one of his quotes, and he's insured, their company has insured hundreds of properties like this. Again, $92 a month. New construction is treated differently. It's less of a risk. When you guys hear about these expensive insurance rates or properties you can't get insurance, these are properties right next to the coast, you know, within a mile of the coast and on low-lying ground. For example, I live on a small barrier island. My home was built in 2004. I'm at 14 feet above sea level. The little cottage down the road is built at 2 feet above sea level. His insurance, even though their house is not even a third of the size of mine, is about 5 times more than mine. These insurance companies are all about risk. They love our new construction because they're built on higher ground and a stronger structural design which withstand hurricanes. Again, I can go into this in more detail of the performance we've had about any of our hurricanes through Southwest Florida, but if you don't like hurricanes, just go to Jacksonville or Ocala. Another insurance, look, single family home, $61 a month. Not quite what you'd be expecting from the news, right? And then here's a duplex in Inverness, $96 a month. So it went from $92 to $96. This one's not as good a deal, but still under $100 for insurance. Inverness, which is just down the road from Ocala, beautiful little downtown local festivals, blend of history. Some of you might have seen the video where I go and get my favorite sandwich at Stump Knockers for the grouper Reuben, one of my favorites. But again, it has the lifestyle. It's the most affordable city in the Florida area, in Florida overall, for new retirees in healthcare. That was its top ranking. And again, you can live there for under $3K a month. So for affordability for retirees, it's fantastic. Popular annual events, Inverness Grand Prix and Motorsports and Festival. You say, why do you tell me this? Because remember, one of my factors is desirability. What's drawing people to the area? Cycling, paddling, boating, fishing, hiking. Whether you guys buy with us or not, I'm going to give you that little hint. The natural Disney World, the first Disney World of Florida was out at the Springs here. Go to the Springs. You'll be amazed at what you're looking at. You can't believe you're in inland Florida and not in the Bahamas. So location and affordability are key with these. Also, the cost of living is 12% less than the national average and 15% less than the state average. Again, what was my word? Affordability. This is key. This is where we want to plant your rental properties for the best results. Not only growth, but also stability in the sideways times. These are the types of properties and areas that will do that. Medium listing price in Inverness is only $269. $269 still for a property, and that's what our new constructions are coming out at. One of the highest rates of seniors at 39%, so it's a great market for not only the seniors, but also a lot of jobs get provided by the senior care, and that's where we see a lot of our tenant pool coming from. Now, an Inverness duplex, again, basically 2 properties under one roof. I like duplexes because they can go in single-family home neighborhoods, they can up your cash flow, and down the road you can sell it to an investor or to a first-time home buyers. It's called house hacking. We see a lot of people buying a property, living in one side, and renting out the other side. And again, how do you get that post-5-year hold? We're happy to go through that. They're very simple numbers, including those 5 elements that I showed you. Remember those 5 things of how to make money in real estate? That's the combo and the 5-year hold estimate. And cash flow on this one, you can see, starts at a healthy amount. And we try to get that even better by offering no property management fees for the first 2 years. Inverness single family home, $274. Again, insurance, look at that at $63 a month. 5-year hold of $136,669 on cash flow starting in the mid-300s. Incremental growth is the key to these, and it's nice to see these go up because, again, when we first started there, we had properties starting at about this cash flow, and they're at about 2.5 times that now because they got in at the right pricing. We expect the same thing to happen in these areas. This is what I want to leave you guys with. Don't worry about timing the market. Worry about those fundamentals. Is there population growth, economic growth, affordability, desirability to the area, healthy supply and demand? Can I get it built right, financed right, and managed right? And if you will take that approach, which we've seen for so many of our people, and just focus on time in the market, not putting the pressure of it, you having to retire on a rental property in 12 months, but it's amazing when you look out 3 to 5 to 7 years with a small portfolio of rental properties of what it can do for you. It's about time in the market, not timing the market. So if you guys have any questions, first and foremost, I'd love to see you talk to our property counselors. 3 of the 4 of them are here today. Again, experienced investors, own their own properties, have put together several rental portfolios that have created a lot of wealth, not only for other clients, but people in the Waco community. They're here. Come by the booth and get a free copy of the book. We'd love for you to take one of those. And if you have any questions, look at this. We're right at 36 seconds. I can't believe I got it done. 36 seconds. I'd love to step outside. Any questions you guys have on the construction of our properties, the results of our properties, the concerns about the upcoming market fluctuations, whatever it is, I'll be outside. Love to answer your questions. And again, Great to see so many familiar faces. A couple of you in here have already bought with us. We appreciate you trusting with us. We're going to keep doing this. It's great to see the results we're getting, and we look forward to growing with you guys. So thanks for being here today. We appreciate it. Take care.